Hey, kids. You're listening to the internet's wettest podcast about video games, consoles, and pancakes. The SML Podcast.
Prepare for the SML Podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is the SML Podcast. I am your host, Joe. It is a party cast. We've got Chris here, we've got Brooke here, we've got Pernell here, and we've got Andy Sperry here. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Party. Pretty good.
Great.
Yay. I think the untold truth is the majority of us are doing awful tonight. So we're going to try speedrunning this thing a little bit quicker than usual.
Speedrun!
I feel bad. We were originally going to have a friend come on and join us to talk about Wizardry. Unfortunately, I talked to him earlier. Like, I was beyond crazy sick last night. Like, I was throwing up bile every hour on the hour.
Nice.
You're throwing up?
That's the worst.
Sucked.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so that ended around 4 a.m, and then I finally got to sleep. So I'm exhausted today. I got news that my mom has to put her dog down, so if I start crying in the middle of nowhere tonight, that's why. I don't think I've ever cried during the show, but this could happen. Put your bets down.
I do it regularly.
Does Joe cry tonight? Put your money in.
I feel you. It's not a good time, but soldiering on is what we do. So
somebody donate 5 subs if he cries.
No.
All right, Andy, if I cry, you have to donate 5 subs.
Oh man, I don't think I have the money for that.
You better find it, because I think he just stacked the deck against you.
No. I didn't know what I was signing up for.
He's in control of this bet, so I don't know what to tell you.
Has anybody done the joke that Twitch is the only place you can get $5 subs nowadays?
Oh yeah, that's
true.
good.
That's really good.
Thank you.
When you had a deal that came with a jingle that was so iconic that you can't walk it back. Everybody knows $5 footlongs.
$9 footlongs.
Doesn't have the same ring to it. They tried. I'm pretty sure they tried. Like, hey guys, remember that jingle we had, the $9 footlong? No. I grew up in the time when jingles were still a thing, and your jingle sucks, man.
I grew up with 24-hour Walmarts and $1 McChickens.
Well, on the positive, 24-hour Walmart still exists. Fucking yeah! And did you hear? I say, speaking of which, did you hear about the weirdest thing? McDonald's is like they're doing a temporary value menu. I don't know what the point of that is. It just seems so far-fetched. Like, hey, guys, remember when things were affordable? Well, we're going to create a temporary menu where things are still less affordable than they were then. Also, you better eat a lot of calories because you only got a limited time to get these banging deals. Otherwise, you're going to still be paying the money for fast food that you really should not be bothering to.
Well, the good news is I think I can officially afford a hash brown at McDonald's for breakfast because Injury just gifted a sub to Thimber.
Yo.
So thank you so much. Thimber, enjoy those emotes, and Injury, thank you so much for your support. Love having you here. Enjoy your emotes because I know you're subbed as well. So enjoy the kitties. All the kitties. I just realized that like the dated like badges, we only have up to like 1 year, and then it's Predator who has been the 1 year badge, and then we don't have like a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We don't have any of those. It's just Predator. You're stuck with her if she doesn't leave you alone.
Well, we like Predator, so it's okay.
Oh man, she's insane in the mornings for breakfast. Oh, that cat is insufferable when it comes to food.
She's also insane in the brain. Meow. Insane in the
So anyway, is there anything anyone wants to talk about tonight, or should we shoot into reviews?
You guys were talking about food. Have you seen all of Brooke's like delicious treats she's been posting about?
Oh, that cake.
Yo, so that is for a contest for the game I'm going to review tonight. It's one of my favorite games. Andy, I don't know if you know this, but it was the very first game I reviewed for SML.
I did not know that. That's rad.
And the very first conversation I had with Joe was about the creepy, pervy pillow salesman from that game. And we had a nice laugh, and now I've made a cake in his honor over 2 years later. So I've completely gone insane. I really hope I win. I probably shouldn't say this, but Idea Factory was supposed to announce the winners earlier today, and they haven't yet, and I'm sweating. So wish me luck. I really want to win this. I get the assigned Shikishi, the voice actor signature for that character if I win. But honestly, I'm just really thank you, Andy, for bringing that up. I'm blushing now because I'm like really pumped that the idea worked. I never did a candy cavity before, and I only had one take in that video, and I'm really proud. So thank you so much for noticing.
Yeah, I loved when you were showing me the pictures of it, and I'm just like, I want to eat all your feathers.
I was sending Joe some. We still have a lot of chocolate feathers left too. I wish y'all were closer. Carrie's been eating them. So I have like half that cake in my freezer too. That was super fun.
You made the cake out of feathers?
I made white chocolate and dark chocolate feathers for the cake. Pernell, I'm gonna make you look at a video of my cake after this. You just wait.
Yeah, it looks so good.
It'll be cool.
So impressive.
Thanks for bringing it up, Andy. Yeah, that's what I did with my weekend, and I hosted a guest, and that's about it.
Dang.
Well, I mean, it goes to say that you're pretty damn good at just baking in general anyway, so I'm probably going to see it and go, par for the course with Brooke. Always good.
Thank you. That's my first contest. My first contest I've entered for it, so I'm so happy that it's a weird baking contest for an Otome game. I actually was taking a Twitter break. My friend was like, you took a wrong time to take a Twitter break. Like, this contest was made for you. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah, wish me luck.
I feel like a baking contest, but it has to be pretty appropriate for an Otome game, too. But I guess it depends on the Otome game, because it could be one of those like vampire husbands or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it could also be like, Food Bakers Anonymous.
Yeah.
Would you put in that the like cavity too?
Oh, the cavity is mostly white chocolate feathers, wafer paper feathers. Those are the feathers that are floating around. A lot of edible white glitter, purple ring pop, some white M&Ms, a bunch of different sprinkles. Actually, I have a bunch of close-up pictures I can show you too. Actually, I haven't been able to throw away the candy cavity yet, so there's an explosion of candy on my counter, and it's just like feathers covered in white glitter. I'm not ready to
take a picture of that, and we'll use it as the image for the episode.
Okay, cool. I mean, it works.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, you guys are probably never going to play this game, but like Alan Melville's thing is like he's a really cheesy goth dude, and he's super awkward, and everybody's really annoyed by him. He only speaks in the third person as well. And it turns out that's because he's not a human. He's like a demon, and he's like pretending to be normal. So he's very much bringing like, how do you do, fellow human energy to the game. And he's secretly an angel. So when you cut into the goth cake and then it has like a white glitter explosion and a ring, that's because he turns into an angel and proposes to the main character and is actually secretly a cinnamon roll. So you gotta believe me, the cake's got a concept.
That story went in so many directions. Secret cinnamon rolls.
Yeah, and that's the speed run version too. So see me after class. We'll chat. No, I'll send you some pictures for now.
Stoked. Yeah, this thing looks incredible.
Thanks, dude.
Hey, we could have come up with secret cinnamon rolls this whole time. That would really boost our sales.
That would be cool. I want to do a Secret Santa with y'all this year. We should do that.
I used to do a Secret Santa with the One Up Studios boards. I should do one with the SML.
Yeah, Discord. I would love that.
Look, here's your gift. It's a nice shirt. And he unwrapped the shirt like, wow, there's a cinnamon roll all gunked up in here. What a secret. Like, Merry Christmas.
You're like, how did you know? Perfect.
Oh, Secret Santa gift from Joe. I wonder what it is. Oh, an SML shirt. God damn it.
Probably a cat.
That's what I wanted.
There's a cat here. How'd that get there? It made it through shit.
Predators in here, son of a bitch.
Yeah. Whoops.
Oh, man. All right. Should we get to reviews? We got a handful of games we got to discuss tonight. First game tonight, Mullet Mad Jack, developed by Hammer 95, published by Hammer 95 and Epopeia Games, released May 15th on Steam for $19.99. Mullet Mad Jack is a single-player, fast-paced FPS that brings you directly inside a classic anime. Power up your character and reach the last floor, beat your best time, or try again. Haste makes waste of your enemies. Andy, what is Mullet Mad Jack?
Yeah, up first, let's do this. Mullet Mad Jack, as you said, is a fast-paced boomer shooter that actually never came out in the 90s. It was too good, too ahead of its time that they had to wait until the year 2090 to release this. So I think I was just lucky enough to receive a copy 60 years early. So I went forward in time to go back in time. Honestly, though, Mullet Mad Jack is a high-octane first-person shooter blending a futuristic soda-fueled Duke Nukem or Mullet Mad Jack, my bad, with a vintage anime world. Guns, girls, robots, and mayhem are the four cornerstones of Mullet Mad Jack, featuring animated cutscenes and a story straight out of an action anime. As a moderator for the Peace Corporation, it's time to put your life on the line, like literally, though. In this future, both man and internet have combined, and without a dopamine kick every 10 seconds, Mad Jack will totally die. Race through levels, killing enemies to refuel your life bar, using weapons and the environment to kill your enemies. Your quote-unquote streamer companion will provide commentary along the way, letting you know what a good little boy you've been. Climb the tower and upgrade your gear to build your character and take on more difficult enemies. Drink soda to refill your life bar and say cool things like, eat more potatoes and I'm here to kill robots and lick lollipops, or something along those lines. Mullet Mad Jack has over 50 power-ups to change the gameplay, from upgraded guns, double jump, lava boots, and even more catchphrases during gameplay, which I do not regret ever getting that ability in the game. Different difficulty modes are available with increased or decreased time, and even a classic mode with no timer at all for those just wanting to enjoy each and every interaction between gun and robot. An endless mode is available as well for those looking for more of a challenge, and leaderboards to check your stats against your friends. Mullet Mad Jack is a quick and colorful dopamine rush for sure. High speed levels that may get a little jarring for some, as there is a high photosensitivity warning at the beginning of the game. Gameplay can also feel a little repetitive sometimes, aside from a few changes in level designs, boss encounters, and the random mini game that is thrown in there too. Again, the core gameplay loop consists of entering a new floor, racing to the end while killing enemies, upgrading your character, rinse and repeat. Every 10 floors, there's a boss accompanied by that classic catchphrase, your princess is in another castle. Or in this case, she's on another floor. Overall, I think Mullet Mad Jack is a clever parody. And while playing, I kept thinking about Jason Statham's 2009 movie Crank, if you guys have ever seen that one.
I fucking love Crank and Cranky.
Right?
Those movies are so good. Also good is Root Beer just subbed for the 53rd month. Thank you so much, Root Beer. Continue to enjoy the kitty cat emotes, and much appreciated. Love having you here.
Dang, 53 months. That's wild.
And that's not even the longest. My buddy Tony was like 72.
Whew.
Yeah, I didn't even know I was alive that long.
But yeah, it reminded me of Crank. Anyway, yeah, it was only like Jason Statham had to shoot robots, and the whole game was set to like a synth retrowave soundtrack. It was really cool. I actually I tried it in a couple of different game modes too. Like I said, you get like the 10 seconds to run through the level, which definitely felt almost too fast at times. You know, you're speeding through, so I couldn't exactly like take in everything that was going on all the time. You get a couple of different weapons, like I mentioned before. You get like the katana or the shotgun, like a pistol or like a rail gun. And yeah, I mean, you're going as fast as you can through these levels to make it to the end. You get more seconds as you kill more robots and move on to the next floor, fight a boss, and repeat.
Well, sounds like you enjoyed this one. It seems pretty cool.
Yeah, I did actually enjoy this one. It's got a really cool, it's got like a cool storyline to it too, and a very like kind of funny ending scene as well, which I really enjoyed. Go ahead, and you got some questions for me on it?
I do have a quick question. What do you think of the visuals? It seems like they could be pretty divisive.
So I felt like with the 10-second timer, I was going to have a seizure at any and all times. Because it's very flashy. It's like explosion, then robot kill, then explosion, and you're like speeding through colors. I bumped it up. The one I felt comfortable on was like the 10-second or the 15-second timer, excuse me. And that I could move at a little bit slower pace. Just barely though, which didn't have as much like jarring, graphics to it. And like I mentioned too, there's a classic mode where there's no timer at all, which actually would probably be like if you're going for that classic like arcade like style game or like boomer shooter, I would go with that. The 10 seconds was a cool like idea, but I do think it's a little intense.
Well, it clocks in at $20. What is your verdict on Mullet Mad Jack?
So honestly, I would give it a try. I would try it out, or wait for a little bit of a sale. I felt like $20 may have been a little expensive for this one. It only took me a couple of hours, honestly, to beat it, the main storyline. But yeah, I thought it was overall a good game. I would just wait till I'd probably pay like 15 for it. Let's put it that way.
If people do want to try it, it does have a demo on the Steam store, so you could give it a demo, see if you like it, and if it meets your expectations, give it a go.
Yeah, I would definitely give it a try because it was fun, and those fans of boomer shooters will really enjoy this one. I actually had a couple buddies that were hitting me up, asking me to come over and upload my Steam catalog so they could try it out too.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Cool. All right, next game. The long-awaited Cupid Parasite, Sweet and Spicy Darling. Developed by Idea Factory and Design Factory, published by Idea Factory International. Released May 28th on Switch for $49.99. While working for Cupid Corporation, Cupid, the goddess of love, strives to become the top bridal advisor. In her most daunting assignment, the Parasite 5, Cupid, known as Lynette Mirror on Earth, was able to overcome unexpected obstacles, but not before falling in love with one of her clients. Now a new chapter commences. Can the newfound couple survive unforeseen challenges? Brooke, the floor is yours. Tell us about Cupid Parasite, Sweet and Spicy Darling.
Hey, well, if you're just joining us tonight, please know this is a very special episode. We're doing speedrun reviews. Suffice to say, I've cut some silly plot teasers I had for you and feelings on different characters' routes, except Mernice, since he's new. We got to talk about him briefly. So I have 3 pages of content here instead of my usual 6-ish. I'm going to talk as fast as I can, trying to give you the most important takeaways here. So sit back. Here I go. So the first thing I wanted to get out of the way in this review is there are exactly 2 things I don't love about this game that I noticed were very different from the original. It can be a shock to go right from the original into the fan disc like I did, just to get the most out of my experience here. UI and music just wasn't as good. I'm just going to say it. It was not nearly as good as the original. It was a little bit surprising. Okay, so I lied. There are 3 things I don't like about this game because late in one of the routes, there was an error in localization I gotta call out really quickly. They just forgot to put English captions on one of the off-screen voices on one of the scenes in hell late in Alan's route, so you don't know what they're saying. Okay, now that that's out of the way, why did I list these things I don't like at the beginning? This is totally different from my normal review format. The reason is because, other than these complaints, I found this fan disc to be perfect. I was already so ready to be let down by Alan's route just because I wanted it too bad. I've been looking forward to it for 2 years, but it exceeded my expectations greatly. All 3 major endings I got in that route, in most of the routes, even a lot of the smaller bitter endings too, I just really loved and I was super satisfied by in a way that I was already tamping down for myself, saying don't expect this in a fan disc. This game has a script load of content, just an ocean of word count here, more than any fan disc I've ever played. Fully voiced, of course. Also important to note, we have all the original VAs back for this game, the original artist, and of course, the original writer for this game. And they all show up, and they bring it really, really hard. So to love any fan disc, that's a really big deal for me. Why is it a big deal for me? Well, I usually don't like fan discs. I reviewed one of them for the show before, and Lord knows I've bought countless fan discs for Otome games I love because I just want more content. Fandiscs are usually a collection of stories that occur after or in alternate universes, sometimes just not in the plot of the original game. Usually you and your love interest, the routes you play in the OG game, you've already gotten together because you got together in the original game. In the Fandisc, which would be a combo of bonus content, sequel content, mix of both, etc., you're typically now dating or married to the character you were romancing and experiencing a grand overarching story with in the original release. So what happens now? Why do I normally not like these, even though I bought a ton of them? Well, I feel a lot of developers just don't do them very well, or there was sometimes no reason to make a Fandisc except it can feel like a desire to make a little more money by turning a successful one-shot into a franchise with more merch for players to buy. It can feel a little manufactured and leave you feeling a little empty. Like, did I even really spend more time with that character I love? Was it even written by the same person? Was there a reason to have this additional story? I was worried Cupid, Parasite, Sweet and Spicy Darling would be like one of those phoned-in Fandiscs we kind of see. I was worried about this because Cupid, Parasite OG is absolutely one of my favorite games. I've played it multiple times. I couldn't wait for this release, and I was scared I was going to be let down. Now, when I'm looking forward to one of my favorite things, you know how it is. Even if it's good, you've built it up in your mind so much. Normally you've built it up in your head so much it will let you down, even if it's really good, because that's how the brain works. So good thing I recently replayed the original Cupid Parasite, and the sheer quality, coming back to the beginning of the review here, of the original soundtrack and UI of the game were so fresh in my mind that when I started this game up, hit Alan Melville's route, was disappointed noticing I didn't like the UI and music as much. It was a red herring of game quality indicator for me, a misdirection of how playing this was going to go down for me. I went to myself, oh my god, is this not going to be as good? Don't get your heart broken, Brooke. I know you've been missing out on so much. You baked him a big ass cake for the contest this weekend. But based on the poor first impression I got, I was like, Fandisc is probably going to be a little short, just not as good as the main game. If the menus and music have already taken this big of a quality dip, that can't indicate the rest of the game is going to blow us out of the park, right? Another thing that made me worry was, OG Cupid Parasite already gave us in each route in the original game a more adult game about grown-up drama than your average Otome game, even if it's got fantasy comedy stuff going on. The MC is unlike a lot of other Otome MCs because she definitely knows what sex is, to say the least. We've already got more dating and quote-unquote couples time than other games to start with. So it's kind of like, what are we even going to do here? They already delivered more Fandisc type content in the original than your typical Fandisc does. So let me be the first to say, as always, I was dead wrong about all this. I'm so glad I had this experience because I started with Alan. Obviously, it blew my mind. So if you go into this and you start worrying about that quality dive at the beginning like I did, don't worry for long, you're going to be set. Shiraishi fans from Collar Malice, they are not Shiraishiing us in this sequel content, if you know what I mean. We get full stories, we're together, and it's very interesting without being contrived. I've never enjoyed we're together now type after stories as much as I did in this game. These stories for each route were so good. They were dramatic, they were fun, they were funny. I cried my ass off because they made me very emotional with real plot points actually relevant to the characters' personalities and struggles. More importantly, they feel so organic and not made up for a Fandisc. I wonder if the writer, since we have the original writer on this project, kind of had all these stories in their head when they were making this for the first game. And the game features all of our favorite old side characters. We've got Owen. We got new characters, fully voiced, new sprites, lots of them. We've got new sprites for Clarice. There's a new generation of Cupid, and we love that guy. This game has over 80 new CGs. Holy carp, that's more than most games. Players who played OG Cupid Parasite a couple years ago, when it came to the US, do you remember how long the character routes were? Because I do, since I just replayed Alan and Gil this year. They're long, dude. They're longer than your average game. What if I told you I think that in this Fandisc, they're just as long, maybe a little less long in this game, but each route has 3 different sub-routes that it can be divided into, and those are the longest sub-routes. It may be longer if we include bonus content we unlock after the after stories. To unlock these and to get the most out of your game and not miss the sheer hidden length of the true endings like I almost did, I would highly recommend following a walkthrough for this game. Highly recommend Blurdy Otome's website for this walkthrough collection specifically, by the way, and please give them a follow on Twitter, because the Nintendo eShop blurb tells us itself there are 3 kinds of endings you can get for each story route. Hey, this is Cupid Parasite, Sweet and Spicy Darling. We can get the sweet ending, we can get the spicy ending, or we can get the sweet and spicy ending. But what the shop doesn't tell you is there's even more than that. There's a bunch of little bitter endings you can get outside of the 3 major endings, and they're not bad either. For your fave characters, you're going to want to 100% all those endings. They're really cool. I'm glad I played all of Alan's and all of Gil's already. I'm even going to finish Ryuki's, even though I hate him. But even just for the 3 main longer endings, let me tell you, they are long. You are still getting to know Alan Melville, ladies. You're still getting to know yourself. Don't think this game doesn't have content. It has even more than any Amnesia fan disc, to put it into perspective. Alan's route. You start married and it's still just such a satisfying and deep, emotional, yet suspenseful route. Because you're demons. How are you going to be together? What's your life together as demons going to be like now that you're married? Do you have to stay demons in every minute, in every ending? What does marriage mean to you? Are you Cupid? What's happened to Cupid? Do you want to get married? Beauty wasn't built in a day. President room. Bar loneliness. Sorry, the first question was real. The rest were just random English lines that appear in the original game. That would be used for decoration and backgrounds that I thought were funny. Just wanted to see if you're still paying attention. President room, press conference, Sillywood, California, Washington, Los York. Okay, sorry, now I'm reading the map of endgame locations. Let's get back on track. I'm going to wrap this up. The reason I stress walkthrough rather than playing blind is so you don't miss any of the 3 longer endings by getting confused, because that's really easy to do here, and they're just so much longer than you're going to expect they're easy to miss. And the universes of this game, the timelines, the characters, your character, your sprite, all those things are going to change drastically depending on what ending you end up with, more than in the original game. UI of the game seems to be letting you know that it's easy to get sweet and spicy ending, but it's harder than you think. Now, before we wrap this up in rating, let me talk quickly about Mernice. He's the new love and interest of this game. We are on a review speedrun tonight. That's why I haven't dived into more here, but I gotta say I was dreading Mernice. I don't understand when fan discs give us a new character to fawn over. Why waste valuable fan disc time making me pine for someone new? It's not like I'm gonna get a third game. I just want extra content for the guys I've already been missing for years. But I was wrong about this too. For the very first time, I loved the new character a fan disc gave me. I freaking love Mernice. We go back into the original game plot for Mernice, and the UI even changes back to the old one just to hammer in. We're back in that timeline, and we never ended up dating any of the other guys in this universe. Mernice is a famous, mysterious fortune teller who can see your future by looking straight at you through the hole of one of his favorite donuts. But he can't see your future because you're Cupid. You're not human. He doesn't know this. He instantly falls in love with you because he kind of sees you as his chance to experience life differently. What would it be like to date someone and you always know exactly what's going to happen to them because you can see the future? He wants to get out of this for you. So he tracks you down. He shows up to your job. And I love that kind of crap. And he's only allowed to meet you by signing up for your matchmaking, but he makes it clear he's after you. He's here for one thing. It's you, and he's going to do whatever it takes, making him very, very different, as you may recall, than any of the Parasite 6 from the previous game, giving us completely different dynamics to explore that story. I enjoyed his route so much more than I thought I would, and I'm the guy who couldn't even get into the Jupiter route in the original game because I still wasn't over Alan. So buy it! I'm going into rating here. Joe, I hope you don't mind. I accidentally skipped a part of my notes.
That's
you don't
fine.
need to be a big fan of the original to enjoy this. You don't need to be all in for the franchise and have a Halo effect brain rot situation going on where you'll take any more content you can get. This game is just good. If you are thinking about buying it, buy it. For the love of God. This is an expensive-ass game. Joe, how expensive is this game? It's like 50,
it's
60 bucks.
$49.99.
It's so worth it. Oh my God. You're going to get so many more hours of play than like an $80 Otome game. I hope this level of content, of story, and quality becomes the new standard for Otome limited editions. Even if that means, if my wish comes true, I will never save any money again. Review over. Thanks for bearing with me.
Yeah.
It's a great review.
I fucking love that game. Sorry to cuss. I'm just emotional right now.
You're allowed to on this show.
Oh my God, right? I loved it. I hate most sequels. Like, they're just never... I thought it was a psychological problem that, like, I can't enjoy sequels because I look forward to them too much. Dude! I'm questioning everything now. Bad. Yeah.
It does have a $90 limited edition that comes with a collector's box, some audio dramas, a hardcover art book, a steel game case, a postcard set, trading cards, a whole bunch of shit.
I really want it. It looks really good. I bought the Japanese one. Joe, I told you last year I bought the Japanese one because I didn't think they'd release an English one. So now I want to liquidate the Japanese one and get the English one. So cool looking.
They also have a day one dual pack in the UK and EU only.
That looks sick. One of my friends bought both of those. She's an inspiration to us all.
All right. Well, Brooke, that is it for you. I know you're not feeling well. Were you going to head out?
I'm going to head out, but thank you guys so much for dealing with my weird ass today. I don't have a game for next week yet. I'll try to find one, but I'll be here either way to hang out with you guys. So I'll see you then.
Have yourself a good one and feel better soon.
Thank you guys.
Have a good night.
Night.
Later.
All right. Next up is Rotwood, developed and published by Klei Entertainment, released April 24th on Steam for $10.99. The world has been thrown into chaos, and it's up to you and your friends to battle the corrupted beasts of Rotwood. Upgrade your gear, choose your preferred weapon, and hone your skills to defend your safe haven. Andy, tell us about your time playing Rotwood.
Yeah, he's back. You guys missed me.
I did. I like you.
I like you too, dude. You're great. Let me start off by saying this Rotwood game here, this one right here that we're talking about, is in early access, and so the developers are actively engaging with the community. And it also sounds like they have a lot of cool stuff planned for the future of the game too. So I'm actually really excited about that because, spoiler alert, I like this game. Rotwood is developed by, am I saying this right? Klei, yep. Klei Entertainment. The same masterminds behind Don't Starve and Mark of the Ninja. It's very much a cross between a dungeon crawler, a beat 'em up, and a roguelite. My personal experience with Rotwood led me to compare it to a almost modernized Castle Crashers, if you guys remember that game. Taking the formula of
I do remember Castle Crashers.
You do? Yes, dude. I love that game, man. I keep revisiting that every once in a while.
It's really good. It holds up too.
Man. It does, dude. I bought it recently again for probably like the 5th or 6th time. But now that I have this, I'm gonna forget about that game because it takes the formula that comes from Castle Crashers, the 1 to 4 players, that whole giving them a chance to fight and level up, learn new abilities, and then they basically take that and just turn it up a notch. Each created character, or hunter as they are referred to in the game, changes with every weapon, ability, and armor piece that is available right now. Right now, the choices are, though, a little sparse. 4 main weapons include the hammer, the spear, a cannon, and a striker, which is basically like a giant baseball. That one is really cool. Those along with armor pieces, and they did actually do a really good job of introducing a lot of power-ups, like when they were releasing these early access too, so that's cool. Starting off the game, each player will be dropped into their town or main hub, where they can interact with friendly townsfolk, which will give them out quests or masteries, help with upgrades to armor or gear, and give you some friendly sage advice. New community members are found within the woods and upon exploration, and will help you on your journey, or even set up a shop in the town itself too. Honestly, one of my favorite individuals that actually 2 favorite individuals was it's like 2 salesmen, and one is like a creature of the woods, and one is just a crow. And you kind of like talk to both of them, and it's like, well, what do you sell? And it's like, what does the crow sell? And it's like they've got some weird, like, relationship between the 2 of them, which is kind of funny to read about. My other one is a guy you run into that is very simple. It's like you just guess heads or tails, and if you guess it right, like he gives you a bonus. Super simple, but very like clever to add like within the mix of fighting enemies. Now onto the woods themselves, though. Each zone that you encounter is based on a stage to stage system. So you enter a stage, clear the enemies, get rewarded. Pretty simple stuff. Along the way, you'll be able to choose from different pathways leading to power-ups or shop stages or even bonus items. Enemies become more difficult as you delve deeper into the woods until you eventually encounter a boss-type enemy. And good job, you've reached the halfway mark, as each zone has a mini and main boss you'll need to clear in order to progress to a different zone. Upgrade your gear and powers, increasing critical hit chance, damage dealt on first strike, or a whole list of other abilities that are available too. You can even turn some enemies into familiars. You can have like what is it, like a... Oh, my mind's going blank now. A projectile upon like a certain amount of hits, taken, things like that. Or enemies can take damage when they hit you even too. It's pretty cool. And then you can upgrade some of those powers as well too along the way. New zones have some of the familiar enemies from the previous zone, along with a couple new enemy types. and a new end zone boss too. Certain level stats are encouraged to enter the new areas, and those new areas are, as I mentioned earlier, only available once you clear the previous area. But you can go backwards too. You can fight the same zone that you've been in before and turn up the difficulty too. So it's not exactly the same level again and again. You can do the original, but you can make it harder. That was pretty cool. Enemies are very cute, but also deadly, all stylized by the forest they live in. There's mini trees, there's flying apples, there's onions, there's bats, there's wolves.
And Klei has always had an awesome visual style to all their games.
All their games have an awesome visual style. And it is, if you recognize it from Don't Starve, or you recognize it from their Mark of the Ninja game.
I like Shank and Shank 2. Those were good ones.
Yeah, exactly. I just got what's one of the other ones they did recently? Oxygen Not Included, which was pretty cool. I don't that one's not recent, but that's one that I discovered recently too. They have such a cool style. It's very colorful. It's very vibrant, and it is super that U word that I can't say on this show. But everything just no everything
you can
just
say it. We're just gonna repeat it.
Yeah, I mean,
unique.
Unique.
Everything felt so awesome to do. Like visually, it just felt so awesome. It was man. I love the style they put into their games. Honestly, like it's really cool. Where was I? Oh, enemies are cute but deadly. But none of them felt like overly challenging or really like unfair. Like even the boss battles weren't like incredibly tough, and sometimes like I would do really well, or sometimes I would be hit by all the enemies, and fail the stage, and I would just be like, yeah, maybe I should just get good, or like, do better next time kind of thing. Or maybe like my power up build that I chose that round was dumb, like, it just like scaled really well. And I played this single player. I played it 2-player. I wanted to get more people in this too. Like a 3 or 4 player game I thought would get a little more chaotic, but would be definitely more fun. But between 1 and 2, I felt like everything scaled really nicely, which is always good to have in a game. Honestly, it felt like a game that I could fall. It's like the roguelite that I could fall into, It's like that, we all fall into those like roguelite traps, where it's like, this is another roguelite, I guess, but it's the same progression. You got to like keep playing over and over again to get good. So this is definitely one that I would add to that list of like, I would play this one over and over and over again to get good on it.
Let's talk pricing on this one. It clocks in right now at $10.99. They plan to be in early access for at least possibly a year, maybe 2, and the price will go up over time. Do you think this is a game that's worth getting in on the ground floor at $11 and watching it grow through its progression, or should people wishlist it and wait? What are your thoughts on this one?
Honestly, I've played $60 games that I haven't put as much time in as I have for this game. I played earlier this week a $20 game that I didn't put as much time in as I did this one. At $11, like that is a steal. If you like that progressive like roguelite system. If you want a game you can play, I think it's couch co-op too. It is, yeah, it's couch co-op or online co-op as well. This game has it all, and it's only getting better too. So yes, I get it.
Very cool.
Definitely get it. Yeah. It was cute. It was fun. I continue to enjoy this one. I probably will get out of here tonight and sometime load this one up again to play more, because it's really good.
Very, very cool. All right, Andy, that is it for you. Did you want to stick around, or were you going to head out?
I got to go wrestle some kids, but I appreciate you having me on the show. Appreciate talking with you guys, hanging out, giving me a chance to do a couple of reviews here.
Hey, love having you on.
2 tonight.
You're always welcome on the show.
Keep you busy. We'll keep you busy.
I appreciate you guys, man. This is we're going to 2. Maybe next time I'll have 3. I don't know.
9.
I don't know. We'll see. 9. The
Don't
full show.
guess.
Full Andy show. I think Brooke was saying
Sperry
that last
show.
time, right?
Very.
I'll even host it. Like, don't even worry about it.
Cool. I'll take a night off. Fuck.
You're right. Awesome,
Well,
guys.
do you have any
it was
final
good to
words
be on
before
here.
we let you go?
Stay true to yourself. Live life. Enjoy everything. Don't let living life take the life out of living. Sage
a lot
advice.
of life.
A lot of life.
lot of
I don't know.
life.
Go have fun. Pick this game up and enjoy the rest of the show too. You guys rock.
Cool beans. All right, take it
Awesome.
easy,
I already
Andy.
have it, so there you go. Thank you for giving it a good reviews. My money wasn't wasted.
We gotta play it too. Joe, you have this one too, don't you?
I meant to play it today, and like last night and today happened, and I just didn't get a chance to play it at all.
For sure.
I'm a shitbag on that one.
Nah, dude, no. And the life is more important. Hit me up. I'll play this game with you guys because I would love to do a little dungeon dive in with you dudes.
Awesome. I'm down.
Sick. All right, later guys. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, buddy. Have a good night.
Peace.
All right, next game, Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord, developed and published by Digital Eclipse, released May 23rd on Xbox One, Series X and S, Switch, PS4, PS5 for $39.99, available on PC for $34.99. Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord is a full 3D remake of the first game in the legendary Wizardry series of RPGs. Chris, you finally got to check this one out on Switch. You've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah.
Did it live up to your expectations?
Yes. That's it.
Cool.
Well, that's the review.
$40. What's your review?
I mean, yeah. Okay. I guess we should talk about the game a little bit.
Yeah, just a little, I guess.
I'm guessing I'm starting because I know you have me and Pernell written down for this one.
Yeah.
Wizardry, yes. So this is one of the granddaddies of all JRPGs. If you enjoy your Final Fantasies and your Trails of Heroes, and I'm sure there's others too.
Fall into the abyss of my gaping butthole.
No, yeah. If you enjoy any JRPG, or indeed most RPGs in general, you have Wizardry to thank. The Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord is the first game in the legendary dungeon crawling series. Came out in 1981 on the Apple II. It was in black and white. It had a little screen where, with the magic of 3D perspective, you could trace an entire adventure multi-level through like basically vector graphics and like these cute little sprites representing orc parentheses 4 end parentheses.
You gave a quick thanks. I got to give a quick thanks real fast. Dopey just rated us with 32 new people.
Ew.
Welcome in, everybody. Grab a seat. We're talking about Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord. Just released on current consoles. Chris is talking about it on the Switch. Pernell will be chatting about the PC version a little later. But Chris has given us a little bit of info on what Wizardry is all about. So take a seat and enjoy the story.
Yeah, so basically, like I said, first game developed by, Sir Tech, and the thing is about what I'm saying in this brief history lesson is that the game itself did pretty well. Like I said, it gave people who enjoyed Dungeons and Dragons kind of style, adventuring and exploring, a graphical representation and hit points and battles you can fight and all this stuff was pretty new back then. The combination of Wizardry, well, the thing is, okay, so the game did pretty well in the US, but then it went over to Japan where it did amazingly well. And in fact, the combination of the export of Wizardry and Ultima and another game that was developed in Japan on old computers gave rise, or inspired rather, directly the first console JRPG, which would be Dragon Quest, which in turn inspired Final Fantasy, which in turn inspired everything else. So yeah, like I said, Wizardry's trek to Japan is basically why we enjoy RPGs so much back here in the States. not to give all the credit to Americans, of course. Japanese people made this stuff much more fun, and we'll get to that. But the hallmark of a Wizardry game, Wizardry, by the way, long-standing series, and in fact, we talked about this in the Class of Heroes games. Like Japan, also produced their own Wizardry games, as well as just different improvements on the dungeon crawler formula. The best one of which, in my opinion, is the Etrian Odyssey series. But yeah, this is where it all started, and this lovely team of magicians, wizards, I suppose, decided to give it just a full-on remake to basically bring it to the 24th century and make it look like a video game that we would actually play nowadays, but to also retain most of what we would consider to be the old school RPG experience. They use the words old-school in the actual game, so I think that's fair to say. So how does the game look? I think it looks great. Now, the dungeon, as you go through it, scrolls smoothly. There's textures everywhere. There's, writing on the wall, literally, that you can, look at instead of, just kind of guessing. You can select... Well, we'll talk about, some innovations here in a minute. But, yeah, the way the game looks is that when you get into a battle now, instead of it just popping up with a single little, old-ass picture of an orc, and then it says, orc, and then 4 in parentheses, you actually see 4 orcs on the screen. It goes to this, battlefield that looks like it could be massive, and knowing how large some of these enemy groups can get in this game, I am really looking forward to seeing this entire big battlefield, fill out. But yeah, they basically, they show all the enemies, they all animate, if they block or dodge your attacks, it actually shows them block with their shield or dodge, and your characters are not shown on screen. Rather, the portraits that you select for them are, and the menus and such. So it's not like it's it's completely changed. It's just, like I said, it's decoration. As you walk through the dungeon, you have a torch in front of you. The smoke moves as you move. Just different things happen. And like I said, this doesn't sound that innovative, but when you realize that the entire original game was just on a grid of black and white, this is some pretty good innovation. Even in the Super Nintendo years, the screens move in Wizardry 5, the screens move by statically. That is to say, 1 frame at a time. Now, Wizardry games have been getting the 3D treatment lately, but like I said, this remake of the original adventure, which pits, your team of adventurers against a mad overlord. As simple as that. It gets more complicated than that, but anyways, it's now represented, and like I said, the main thing about it is that the game itself was extremely hard. That is most of what people know about Wizardry nowadays. A lot of people. Yeah, I know it was. Well, I say kind of, because of the different improvements that have happened. But yeah, one thing that a few people know about Wizardry is its effect on RPGs at large. What most people know about Wizardry is that it's the kind of game where you can walk in and get one-shot by a bunch of, enemies at almost any point. Basically, and if you overpower the enemies, they just run away from you. So it's kind of like the game always keeps you on your toes. That's the entire original point here. But, however, with this game, pretty much everything is streamlined, and QOL has been added into just the most obscure of little crevices of this game's difficulty. You can, and the cool thing is that if you select the old school options, which the game will present to you as soon as you start a new game, and will be on the it'll be persistently in the hub town, so you can change it at any point. You can basically, not only can you change all these different little options, enabling and disabling different things, but you can actually choose presets. There's a modern preset, which basically turns all the QOL on. There's the original, which turns most of it off. And then there's the console version, because when Wizardry came out on consoles like the NES, which is where I played it, they already had some QOL that they sort of introduced. And then you can just totally customize it yourself too. So it's really nice that you don't have to really bother with all of the, setting every single option, because some of them are kind of, some of them, if you want, like the maze options, the first one is ambient map, the second one is Doomapic map. And it's like, how do you know which one you want to enable and which one to disable unless you actually already know this game,
Yeah.
So and the cool thing is they also describe everything, which is really nice. The other thing is that rolling characters, that's what you have to do. You can now roll the dice on your characters if you want. Basically, well, you can choose not to have this, actually. You can have preset rolls, essentially, or even choose a whole preset party already named and portraited and everything. But of course, the thing I like the most about a Wizardry game is rolling high-powered characters right at the beginning, which involves lots and lots of creating a character, rolling for the bonus points right at the end, and then getting like a 7 or an 8 or a 9 or something, knowing that it can go up past the 20s even, into the 40s and even 60, which is the perfect roll, which I recently got, if you listened a few episodes ago, in a game of Wizardry 5. In this game, you can actually just roll the dice before you do anything with the character, and you can, at any point, like change anything about the character until you basically lock them in. At which point you can still change their portrait and their name and their class and everything like that. And of course, pick your dual classes and things like that. So the cool thing is too about this is that the dice is very generous. I was able to roll an entire team of upper 20s, which for bonus rolls, which is makes that first time out a lot better. Although, of course, again, your character's HP is still random, and sometimes you'll get a low roll on that you can't help. I ended up with a thief with 5 HP. She got wiped 3 times. Yeah, she got wiped 3 times until she gained 1 level.
With
in
9.
which, I
had a warrior with 9 in the front row.
Yeah, that'll happen. But then when she gained a level, because she had so many bonus points, I dumped into her vitality. She gained like 16 HP in the first level. So I was like, okay, so now we're cooking. So, and that's what this game is all about. It's all about cooking. It's a slow burn. You got to take it slow. You got to be careful. You got to learn everything about this game, what tools you have at your disposal. Otherwise, your team of 6 is going to get into that dungeon, get stuck, and there's no saving and loading. If your character dies, if you reload the save, you may be out of the battle, but your character's still dead. If your whole team wipes, or if you get stuck in a trap or something like that, you got to make a whole nother team and go after them if you want them back. And there's actually an option in the old school options that says, hang on, I got to look at it. Bad stuff on party wipe. You can enable or disable that. The original game, sometimes if your party wiped, again, you had to like send another party down to get them. But if you did, sometimes all their gold will be stolen. Some of them might even get eaten by a monster and then are not recoverable. This is the plot of some animes sometimes. But I'm referring to a recently released anime about cooking monsters. Anyways,
in dungeon.
Yeah. That's entirely based on a Wizardry party system. Anyways. But yeah, this is you got a lot of options in this game. It looks really nice. It sounds really nice. It's much more playable, but again, I rolled a character with 5 HP that got wiped 3 times before the first level up. The difficulty's still here, and it's here to stay, because this game does not do what Etrian Odyssey did and literally give you a picnic option. Yeah, it's actually called Picnic. You can just go through Etrian Odyssey with no difficulty at all. Now, you could not at the beginning, but that's okay. I like them hard, and I like this one. Anyway, sorry, Pernell, I've been talking this whole time.
No, don't be. I mean, if anything, you had a lot of good stuff to say. And I feel like I don't have a ton to say about this game in comparison, because just as you mentioned the things that you say, you refer to, like, say, Etrians and stuff like that, the main point that I bring across with this game is that the audience for it is, in my opinion, is pretty specific, in that if you love dungeon crawlers and you've been playing them for years and you're like, hey, I wonder what this classic granddaddy game played like, but now it's a little more refined, I could check it out. That's who this is for. But at the same time, the genre's come a long way since this game has come along. And as I played it, I was fine with it. I think it's a fine game. But that's also because I knew coming in that I was getting a fresh coat of paint on Grandpa, essentially. So things like
Grandpa's
team up
got a fresh coat
attacks
of paint.
and yeah, that's right. Not lead based either. We're better than that now.
I do appreciate that you could have the original game in the corner as well, like showing you exactly what you used to see.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's toggleable. You can make it larger or more opaque or switch it off entirely, but you do get the original Apple II game playing in the corner because this is a 1-to-1 remake of the game. In fact, you can even choose if you want levels 6, 7, and 8 to mirror the Apple II version or the console versions because they made them harder for consoles. Anyway, go right ahead.
Of course. It's just like, it's interesting to say, like, the game themselves, they're both great games. I mean, this game is pretty great in my opinion. However, like, I could not see myself recommend this to somebody who just is trying to get into the genre for the first time or they're fledgling in the genre. This is something you come back to later on because I could also picture somebody that's playing the genre now based on what we have access to now, disliking this game. Like playing Demon Gaze from experience and then coming back to this game and going, what the hell? This game, I got wiped by like the first freaking mob. Because you can do that. It is totally possible to get wiped by the first mob you come across in the game. Because that's how RNG works. And, you know, stats and the monsters that exist on those floors, on the first floor. But
I have a gripe with the game quick.
I
was playing it. I got to the first level boss, which is you got to fight like 2 ghost dudes, and
oh yeah, the ghosts.
The amount of missing in that battle drove me up a fucking wall. I took a screen grab of all of my guys missing, as well as both the ghosts missing, and this would happen repeatedly. Like that battle took 20 minutes longer than it should have, just because all my guys kept missing. And then you have the issue where you'll run into a battle against like 9 enemies and all of them run away.
Yeah, Murphy's Ghost.
Yeah, so like I don't get any experience. It's just a waste of time. Why have that battle?
It happens. It is a genre staple, just like the battles where you walk up on the monsters and they say, these monsters are staring at you. And you get to choose whether you want to watch them or let them walk away or fight them. And the sole real purpose of that situation is to say, do you want to be evil or not? Because that's pretty much the gist of it from a gameplay perspective. But that's a genre staple. It's just what it is.
Oh, yeah, man. And I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of like have to learn a few things, like, you know, some of your pre-spells that might work on it. You know, there's some like different things that you can do to kind of make that a little bit easier. But yeah, it's basically a skill wall. That is to say, they're basically telling you you're not ready for level 2 until you can beat these guys.
The worst was that I beat them and I was like near death. And then I went to turn around, but I accidentally clicked the item again and it started the battle again.
Did you know you can run away from them?
Yeah, it took me like 3 rounds to run away.
Okay. Because, yeah, I ran into them early because I was just walking around and looking at stuff, and I was confused because the ambient map was messing up because of the darkness, which is a feature that's new to this, is that because in the original Wizardry, you could only look at a map if you cast a spell that your wizard knows called Doomapick, which is what I mentioned earlier, and you can't. Otherwise, you can't. Like, you have to actually draw it on graph paper or something yourself, or, you know, nowadays look online. But the thing is that this game adds an ambient map where you have a persistent map in the lower left corner that fills in as you walk through the dungeon, but only it resets every time you leave the dungeon. I mean, the level stays consistent, but the map erases. It's like an Etch-a-Sketch map, essentially.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And if your characters end up in a confusing situation, the map can get messed up. So that's when you use Doomapick, and then you can straighten it out, and then it stays on the map for the rest of the trip, which is great. I really like the ambient map. It's a great compromise between what we know nowadays, which is, of course, maps for everything. Starting with with the DS, where you got like a whole screen just for your map. But it's like a great compromise between that and the fact that Wizardry, part of why it was hard is because it was very easy to get lost. So I appreciate it, but then I'm
not so much with those rooms with the warp tiles and stuff.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. But
anyway, the game clocks in at $40. What do the two of you think of it?
Pernell, do you want to say first, or?
I mean, sure. I feel like with the caveat of what I mentioned before, being that noobs need not apply. If you're coming to this game and looking to see what Wizardry was all about, but you don't feel like digging up the old software and dealing with the old business behind it, I feel like this is a fantastic recreation of that classic product, including some nice accessibility options that will make it a little bit more playable, but it's still freaking hard. So in that capacity, I would genuinely give this a buy. This is a good product. Just know that if you don't meet the standards I mentioned before, maybe not. But otherwise, I think it's good. It's worth it.
Yeah, that's actually pretty much exactly what I would say. I think that Wizardry is a great game. I think that if you give it a chance, you'll find that the frustration that's baked into it is actually part of what makes it great. I would say the same thing for like Doom, for instance. It's the tension, it's the pressure. Wizardry is amazing. It excels at pressure, but without being impossible. Like, you can beat these games, maybe except for the fourth one, but that one's not been out for a long, long time. We'll probably never see a remake of that one. But yeah, it's really, really cool to see this piece of history, given this full treatment like this. I really appreciate the one-to-one recreation of the original maps and story and everything like that. I love what they did with this. It's absolutely a buy it for me.
Cool.
I say RPG fans, go learn your history.
Sounds good. RPG fans have more to look forward to, because the next game is Neptunia Game Maker R Evolution, developed by Idea Factory and Compile Heart, published by Idea Factory International, released May 14th on Switch, PS4, PS5 for $49.99. And a bit of a news, it's coming later this year to Xbox. In a world of powerful rival game makers within the game maker world, in order to acquire shares, game makers have started to wage a battle for supremacy. So a new game maker steps into the fray, attempting to endure the battle for survival in game industry. Pernell, what's going on in Game Maker R Evolution?
Okay, so this is basically Neptunia and the new Neptunia style that they started off with the Sister versus Sisters game that came out not too long ago. And I'll talk about what that means shortly. So like you said earlier, the point of this game is that Neptune's adult form is, and this is something I didn't know about because I didn't beat the game where she becomes this, but she is now a interdimensional traveler of sorts, and she happens to travel across a dimension where game industry is inhabited by the same characters we know and love, but now they're very much invested in the idea of game manufacturing and development. And she comes across three fledgling goddesses who are trying to get off the ground by becoming a decent, game development development company. So she offers to become the president of their company, and they set out to become great game developers. You hear that, you probably think, man, this seems like a very different take on a Neptunia game. And though it is different in the sense that I feel like the narrative is pretty lighthearted in that sense, it is not so much different in the gameplay itself, because it's just they took that narrative and took the original gameplay mod that we've come to know and just kind of giving it some tick or tack to say, hey, we're not building a base, now we're building a company, whatever. So what that means is the disc development that you remember from the old games where you could apply characters to produce items that would give you different, perks or character abilities. You're now developing video games to go along with the status of your company, and you hire employees to help you build those things. But they result in the same effect when you put them on a character. They give you different perks like step cancels and the like. But I guess the general gameplay loop I'll go into is that you have your hub world or your hub base, which is your game company. And at the game company, there are a couple of functions you can do. I'm not going to go into all of them because it's just a lot of random gibberish. But you can level up your base, and your base is based on the type genre of video game you decide you want to develop. And essentially, you just get different perks when you level up the base type. But you also can get hired employees by way of reading their emails and putting them on development for designing the disc that I mentioned earlier, which gives you skills and the like. And you can also then sell those discs for more money to produce more discs, kind of like game development in that sense, or game publishing. What can you do with those points aside from developing discs that gets you the skills and sales? Well, you can also go to the next segment of the game, which is the world map, which allows you to access new areas. Dungeons in this game are meant to represent things like sales routes. Sometimes you have to go to a dungeon for a narrative reason. Other times you'll go to a dungeon because you want to, quote unquote, increase range of sales. So you'll go to a dungeon, fight a bunch of monsters, maybe fight a boss at the end of the dungeon, whether it's like a generic little monster type or maybe a maker in what's called a maker's duel, which is how you gain access to, quote unquote, selling your games on that route. Narrative point. Don't worry about it beyond too much of that. Sometimes dungeons are unlocked automatically based on like game progress or whatnot, but other times you have to spend the points that you get from doing the disc development to actually unlock an area on the map, which then allows you to explore it. Dungeons themselves in this game play very much like any other Neptunia game, generally. They're open, sometimes they're claustrophobic, sometimes they're open space. In this case, they're always surprisingly wide. I feel like they're pretty big when you enter them. But you can pretty much run around in a form of a party of 4 members, looking around for either the exit items and chests, breakable object, or switches to open doors to progress further in the level. But occasionally you might see a monster hopping and bopping about on the map. If you see one, you can attack them by using your symbol attack to get the first blow. Though I'll admit, I kind of hate that the symbol attack's range is ridiculously short no matter what character you're using. Even a ranged character with a boomerang, for example, has to be right up in their face to actually hit them. And it's hard to tell if you're even close enough to do it, but whatever. It happens, it happens. And then once you get into combat, well, that's when, the boom boom starts. And this is the part of the game where I find I have mixed vibes about. Because I feel like I miss the turn-based combat in these games, but they decide they want to make it into like an action-style game. I guess for, the ADHD-prone people that are even more ADHD-prone than they used to be, because now turn-based is somehow passé. But what that means is that when the gameplay starts or a battle starts, all of your characters will just be on the battlefield in the formation you gave them. Enemies will be on the opposing side. At this point, you have 2 attack buttons, each one associated with a combo string that you input into the game based on skills you either have or unlock as you level up your characters. They come in a variety of types and attack powers and ranges. You attack a certain number of times, kind of string your combo along, and eventually you'll gain access to a link chain. What that is the ability to sync another character into your combo to continue it. At this time, sometimes the game will give you a visual prompt at the top of the screen telling you to specifically choose a character by pressing the directional pad adjacent referring to that character and continuing the attack string. But other times, you might not see that, at which point you want to look to the lower left corner of the screen, which shows all 4 characters you've got and the button corresponding to them. If you see a C pop up on their portrait, that means they can continue your link chain and it's worth switching to them. Link chains increase, the damage output of your attacks, but it also uses, I guess, sort of special attacks as the new characters jumped onto the board. Now, the issue I had with this, to an extent, is that it felt fairly mindless to me. I'm sure people might go, well, duh, pick the best attacks and just use them, Pernell. Which, of course I will. I want powerful attacks, whatever, but I never really felt like I was really getting engaged or excited about combat. I was just like, mash, 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 mash. Okay, next guy. Mash, 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 mash. Next guy. Mash, mash, mash. Oh, somebody got hit. Use an item. But you can't just use items willy-nilly to heal or ever. In fact, the way items and special attacks work in this game is there's a bar that fills up on the game. And when it fills up to a certain extent, usually, by the way, it's like doing a lot of damage and also a little bit over time in combat, you can press the triangle button to access either their most linked up ability that they have equipped, or you can press the menu button to select one of their abilities. But this also applies to using an item. You can't use an item unless that TP gauge is filled up. So don't just think you can spam healing potions and get away with it. You have to actually be kind of wise with them because if you take damage too rapidly, well, you won't be able to heal yourself quickly enough to keep up with the damage you're taking. This game also has the classic mode where you can transform into your goddess form. Every character in this game has a goddess form pretty much. And when you unlock that during a fight, which is usually by like just doing enough damage to enemies and building up the gauge, you can press the button and they transform into their goddess form, which gives them new, more powerful attacks. And it's like a bit of a timer where we're just mauling more enemies and doing a lot more damage. There's also like EX attacks where they do like turbocharged damage in a little flashy manner and get enemies knocked down that way. But for the most part, I gotta say, I wasn't particularly jazzed about combat. I just missed the combat they had in like the Rebirth games. Yeah, I'm old. Get over it. It happens sometimes to people. But that's just how I felt about it. They also added some elements in regard on the actual dungeon crawling scene where Neptune has an actual bike that she rides, and you can actually use the bike almost at any time to ride your bike around the dungeons. The purpose of the bike is to give you quicker traversal, and also just because, hey, riding a bike is pretty cool. This can bite you or help you depending on where you use the bike, because an open space like a park or forest, yeah, riding the bike can be pretty nice to get around. A dark, deep cave with a lot of crevices and like ledges you got to hop onto, the bike's kind of a pain. I don't think it's going to necessarily make me slower. I might just want to stop using the stinking bike. So take that as you will, but the fact that it exists, there's no harm in it being there. It's not always so great. The game also has time challenges you can do sometimes where you can ride the bike on levels that allow for it for prizes if you finish a course in a certain amount of time. And the course is basically the dungeon you've already come to love, but it gets gates up that you have to kind of like slalom through, eventually getting to the end and getting timed for it with rewards. And in some cases, game progress can be gated by earning a reward from one of these time trials. So I don't know. But I will say that what I do like still, I mean, because maybe it's just the weeb in me, but I still like the characters and I still like the narratives that they put together. Because whether or not they're goofy or serious or whatever, I do enjoy the tropey humor that comes from these characters. Like, for example, the main cast, they all have tropes that just stick out immediately. One of them is a math programming nerd who just constantly references calculations and various abbreviations and acronyms. One of them thinks she's the smartest person in the group, and another is probably the actual smartest person in the group. She's a scientist, and she's always talking about her calculations and things going as planned. And then there's Neptune, who's freaking Neptune. She's an adult, but she's still a ditz. But I like her. I like all of them. They're fine. So it's hard to say exactly how I feel about this game in a nutshell, because on one hand, I like the visual novel aspects. I like the narrative. I like the characters. I do, however, and I say this knowing that this is Neptunia. Someone might hear this and go, this is all the Neptunia games, Pernell. Come on, bro. But I'm like, yeah, maybe after 15 or so that I've played, I'm allowed to say this. They tend to do a lot of asset reusage. That goes both in textures and also in music. There are tracks in this game that I'm hearing that were originally in like freaking Rebirth back in 2014 or whatever. So it's like, wow, come on, guys. With that said, though, the new tracks that they have in the game, or at least they may be new, maybe I don't remember them, but the new tracks in the game, I think, are pretty nice. I like the music in this game. I feel like those are okay. But I don't know. Everything just feels so samey, and the combat is the one part that I wish was samey, but it's not in a bad way. So ultimately, I guess if you're hearing this, if you're a Neptune series fan, chances are you're going to hear me and go, whatever, screw this guy. I'm going to buy it anyway, nerds. But if you are just generally like, what do you think of this game, Pernell? Do you think this is a quality product? Do you think it's something worth playing? Well, I'm kind of torn, but I'll go on to the general description after you ask your question.
Hey, well, it's a $50 game. What is your verdict on Neptunia Game Maker R Evolution?
I would give this a try it in that sense. It's not quite denied. I don't think the game is like hot buttered garbage or anything. But I also feel like Neptunia, for what the franchise brings as far as characters and narrative and just world building that they've done, I think it deserves better. It deserves better. It deserves more than just like reusing the same tropes over and over and over again, but with an inferior combat system. But I mean, if you like the characters and you like the world they've created and you like the stories they produce, you're going to get another fun narrative in this game. It's just going knowing that I wasn't quite digging the combat. So,
all right. Well, I'm still looking forward to it when it hits Xbox later this year. I'm happy to see more Neptunia games hitting Xbox. So maybe we'll enjoy it more.
But just follow that and say, "See, nerd." Just like nerd. I'm gonna play it anyway. Nerd.
Nerd.
Oh man.
Nerd.
All right, we got one final game to talk about tonight called Goliath Depot, developed by Vidvad Games, published by Flynn's Arcade, released May 30th on Switch for $6.99. Goliath Depot is a door-slamming 2D arcade game taken straight from the early 80s. Close all the doors, kick the enemies, and speedrun your way through 40 unique levels. Chris, what's Goliath Depot?
Okay, so Goliath Depot. This is another kind of new neo-retro, retro nouveau, kind of arcadey platformy game from Flynn's Arcade. At least two of which of their games I've reviewed already, and that would be Murtop and Donut Dodo. They also did Paper Tris, but I don't know if they developed that. But whoever did this, definitely it has to be the same people that did Murtop and Donut Dodo. You play as a employee of some company that owns a warehouse and factory and a parking lot and et cetera, et cetera. And your job is to shut some doors because I guess the stuff that the factory, warehouse, etc. produce have gone haywire. They're like different machines that have come alive and started zapping things. And if you shut the doors, they don't know how to open them. So that's how you contain the threat. That's the story they present to you. I like it. You're basically a little guy, and you run across a platform stage, single screen. It's going to remind you a lot of like Mario Brothers, not Super Mario Brothers, the original Mario Brothers, the one that's the bonus game in Super Mario Brothers 3, where it's just Mario and Luigi, and they got to clean up the sewers. Yes, you literally have to clean up the sewers in Mario's original adventure. How did that guy survive? So yeah, you can choose either George or Georgina. You can also pick their color. You can also play 1 or 2 player, which is pretty cool. But yeah, basically the point is to jump around the stage, avoid the shots from the enemies, and collect coins. The coins can be used to purchase superpowers that you can basically pick as a loadout, including the second most expensive, the double jump. But yeah, it's basically all stuff that'll make the game easier, but the game is still playable no matter what. So, if you're just like me and you just kind of get by on the best you can, then you're good. Because as you collect coins, if you die too many times, you get a game over. You get an option to continue, but it costs you 25 of those coins. And you have to persistently get through the 10 stages at a time, including a boss. Yes, they actually have bosses in this game with your regular 3-life loadout. So, it's kind of a give and take on the coins front. But yeah, basically the main mechanic of this game is that while you're jumping through these platform levels, there are doors. If you shut the door with a button press, then the door is shut, and the sound of the door, I guess, travels as a shot across the screen. And if it hits an enemy, it stuns them. And if you run into an enemy while it's stunned, then they are dead until they come back, which they will. But it buys you like some time and clears the space a little bit for you to continue your jumping and just one less hazard in the way. The other thing, and this will definitely come up in the boss fights, before you shut the door, you can actually hide inside the door, like in the game Elevator Action, which is clearly what is one of the inspirations for this game. However, the main inspiration I think this game got, whether accidentally or not, was actually the Philips CDI game Hotel Mario, which is also a single-screen door-slamming puzzle game starring Mario. Thank God, though, this game actually has really good frame rate and controls. It controls really well. It's nice and zippy. The jumping feels good. It feels precise. It's just fun, man. And it scales in difficulty, of course. And like I said, you have to figure out how to defeat the bosses by slamming doors on them. And once you do, you unlock the next area, and hopefully you have enough coins to unlock a cool new move that you can do. That's really all there is to say about it, because that's all there is. Graphics are like 8-bit. The sound is like kind of modern chiptune-ish. Like I said, if you've played Murtop or Donut Dodo, this is going to very much remind you of those, but in its own unique sort of way. Unique.
Well, it costs $7. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a fuck it, why not? But honestly, in the glut of games that are available at this price point in the Nintendo Switch, it is my hope that games like this float to the top, because this game was clearly made with a lot of care, especially the fact that it controls so well, and like I said, it is actually fun to play. It's a great gameplay loop. So yeah, if you are planning on just spending your $8 on a little arcade game that's modern, not something that you've already played before, then yeah, this is a good contender. I'm giving it a buy it.
Cool. All right, well, that is it for this episode. We made it through. Big thanks to Andy and Brooke for coming on, doing their thing. Thanks to you two for being here as well. I feel bad that we're making it a shorter episode tonight, but I am having some massive kidney pain tonight, and I need to wrap this up. So,
I hope you feel better soon. I got food on the stove, so I gotta go too.
Does anyone have any final words to wrap it up?
To hear it. Hold your loved ones, take care of each other, and don't hold grudges, because that's fucking stupid.
And play more Wizardry.